Joined by the original dynamic duo. We got myself, Dakota, and Tim back on the show. You've been like MIA, buddy. What's going on?
Yeah, I know. It's been busy. It's London.
It's London.
This
It's
the
wet.
whole the whole international podcast and trying to link up times, I think has really played a factor recently. But we had our daylight savings time. I think we're back to normal, so that always throws me off as well.
Nice.
So, back into it.
Cool.
Long nights with the trying to stay up for college basketball as well throws off my schedule.
Oh, naturally, yeah. So we have got March Madness to cover a little bit, and then also some free agency. So let's start first, I think, with the free agency, and then we can kind of end with March Madness. Because I don't know, like you said, how much you've been able to watch in London, but it's
Listen, I had
been
Princeton knocking off Arizona, and the rest of my bracket has been horrific, but I've
mm,
got that one right. So that I'll live with that. I'm very happy about that. No one can take that away from me.
that's fair.
And it's exciting, but hey, it's exciting point of the year. We got the draft coming up, which is always my personal favorite.
Oh
Free
yeah,
agency just wrapped up.
yeah.
March Madness here. We're going to be cruising into the playoffs for basketball. Opening day very shortly. It's arguably the best sports time of the year.
Yeah. And then after April ends, I feel like it gets kind of like the summer hits and then people do that's like the vacation time and sports settle a little down a bit. But, you know, we've had
But hey, we got the Phillies though, so it'll make it a little more exciting.
look, I'm just gonna put this out there because we're not really talking about the NBA in this episode, but the Sixers are pretty primed right now to make a run. It looks like they look really good. Embiid is like playing better than he did last year, and he should have won MVP last year. Um, So whoever they play in the finals, just bet on them because we know how Philly's going.
That
I'll
is
just
very
say
true. I
if
mean,
we go 0-4 in Major League Championships in this past year, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself.
I was thinking, remember back in like October when everyone was like, "Oh my God, like the Philly fans are just living life. They got the Union in the championship, the Phillies in the World Series. The Eagles are undefeated."
Yeah.
And now here I am, nothing to show for it, but just depression and sadness. I'm like, how
I
quickly
mean,
life turns on you.
the ride is fun. It'll be cool to look back on this in like a couple years, be like, oh, look how good our teams
I
were
mean,
that
well,
year.
we could
But
have at least like got one of them. I wasn't asking for every championship, but one of them would have been nice.
I think the Eagles, actually, the Union probably had the best shot to win. They had that game and they fucking lost it.
Oh, they all had a good shot of winning.
Yeah.
The Eagles literally had like I swear multiple times in that game I thought they were going to win.
I would
You know,
say probably Union, then Eagles, then the Phillies in ranking of who should have won the most, like who had
yeah,
the best road to victory there. But
the Phillies were also like I think the Astros were
th-
significantly better than them. They were just
oh,
riding a hot streak. But
Ast-
when they were up, what was it, 2 games, 1, and they after they had like the 7 runs they scored, I was
yeah,
feeling so good.
yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
The Astros had like one of the greatest teams put together in a long time, so that was like not a huge
Yeah,
knock
there
on the
was
Phillies were a bit of a
every
Cinderella
single.
that year, but they'll
Yeah,
be
but listen,
well the
Trey Turner
loss.
though.
Yeah, Trey Turner, but the loss of Hoskins is definitely his defense is always suspect, but he puts in the numbers on offense. He's at least good for 25 plus home runs. So that'll be a little
Well,
bit of
yeah,
a
it
hit, but
stings more that because you're already down Harper to start the season, and now you're out Reese as well. But
yeah,
I mean, I
they'll
think
be all
they'll be
right.
all right.
Yeah.
Hoskins is a loss, but this team is a mixture of like the same player, like
Hmm.
Schwarber, Castellanos, Hoskins. They're all like these power bats that are extremely inconsistent. When they're on, they're jacking home runs. Most of the time, they're striking out. They can't really field.
Yeah.
So the lineup's at least built to withstand it.
True. But
But getting
um
into it, should we start with what we thought about the Eagles' moves? I mean, free agency was kind of quiet for them. They brought back some guys that I didn't think they were going to bring back, but
true.
outside that, they've kind of brought some depth pieces in. All in all, I think for the situation Howie was in, he did a pretty good job bringing back as many guys as he could and prioritizing, I think, the right guys to bring back.
I yeah, it was a they went from like and it wasn't even like the suspenseful in a good way. Like free agency, like, oh, we could get this guy. Like, oh, that's kind of exciting. It was like, no, like we might lose this guy. Suspenseful.
Yeah,
Like the whole Darius Slay thing was like a crazy 24 hours. It went from like the Eagles are going to trade him. Oh, they couldn't find a trade partner. They're going to cut Darius Slay. Oh no, Darius Slay's getting extended, and he's still going to stay on the team for another 2 years. Like what?
Yeah, I
What
had
was
no
going
idea what
on
was
there?
going on there.
He was
None of
tweeting
it made
goodbye.
sense.
His wife was tweeting goodbye, and there was then the next day, like, oh, JK, we're here to stay. That
Yeah,
was. I was
I
like,
mean, I
thank
did like
God.
it.
I was happy mostly for selfish reasons because obviously we had lost Miles Sanders to the Panthers, and my current jerseys that I have of players that are on the team were Sanders and Slay. So if both of them went, I would have had to buy a new jersey. So I'm glad.
For the sake of Dakota's closet, we're very grateful
Yeah.
Darius Slay came back.
I mean, I could still rock
But
I can still rock Ertz and Deshaun Jackson. It's not too far out of the realm, but
it's completely unacceptable. Hey, listen, I've been, yeah, you got to pick better, man. You got to pick better. I've had one jersey for the last like
well,
10 years, and that's been
yeah.
Fletcher Cox, baby. And it's
I
just
might,
money.
I was talking to my friend Mike, and I might get a Lane Johnson jersey. That's kind of a nice.
We know
There's a
he's
lot
not
of
going anywhere.
there's a lot of Kelsey jerseys, not a lot of Lane jerseys.
It's true. You know,
So
he's
maybe
a
I'll do that.
sleeper, and it's a cool number as well. And you know he's going to be here for a while. The Landon Dickerson jersey. Now that one,
Landon
he's
Dickerson.
dude. I tell you,
Isn't he
he
wearing
is
69?
exactly, and
Oh
he's
my
a big
God.
personality. He is going to fill in Kelsey's shoes, I think, really well. That's why I was really happy when they drafted him. I know some people were like, "Oh, he's an injury." You know, this was in the period where everyone was getting hurt on our team.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a big personality. He was a captain on Alabama, so that'll But and how good he's been so far, I think he's only gonna get better. But
Yeah.
all right, running through,
All right.
give me your reaction to a few of the picks we had. Let's go. Let's start with the players we brought in.
Okay.
So we're talking like not many, but Rashad Penny, I thought was a nice pickup. Greedy Williams, guy who I think still has untapped potential. I liked him coming out of college. And then I think outside that it was kind of some depth pieces. Nicholas Moreau, but he was a solid linebacker. I think he fills in for Kaiser White really well. I think they're kind of interchangeable.
Sure.
Um, but all in all, for the situation you're in, you like you said, you knew you weren't going after any big names, and I'm not gonna lie, this free agent class was kind of disappointing. I feel like there wasn't any real big changes. You could say Javon Hargett was probably the best player in the whole market.
Mm.
Well, what did you think to the additions?
Um, love. I loved honestly looking at it the value because I had a friend that asked me like, "What did you think of the signings?" And I said, "Very low risk with medium upside because none of these players are gonna become all pro athletes, but you'll get. I mean, Rashad Penny for it was like
Oh, I loved it.
1.5 million. Like
Loved
if
it.
he can stay healthy behind that Eagles line,
Oh,
he's gonna
running with
be.
Hurts. Oh, he's
Oof,
good. He's been so
oof.
good when he's healthy. His problem is he's just never healthy.
They need like I loved the duo of Sanders and Gainwell when they were used correctly. But I think Penny healthy is so much more of a power back too, and he's agile, but he's a power back.
Oh yeah, he's fast.
Um,
I think Penny staying healthy has a better year than Sanders did last year.
yeah, I could see that, and then even Gainwell, I think he'll get a lot more active. I think there'll be a lot more of a split. Or
Yeah,
even
no,
Gainwell.
Gainwell
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 actually
put
might
up
be the
well.
starter,
Yeah,
honestly.
I would say towards the end of the season in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl specifically, Gainwell was kind of taking over Sanders, and I wasn't like mad about it. Like he performed better. I think Sanders. He was a guy that coming into this, like Hargrave wasn't coming back. I
Yeah,
pretty confidently didn't think Sanders was going to come back. Good for him. He got a good contract, but I was okay
Sanders.
with moving on from him.
Yeah, Sanders was just a money thing. They weren't gonna be able to bring him back.
Yeah, and but I still think they're going to draft a guy, and I'm all for it. Obviously, the Robinson for Texas is the name everyone's floating around it. I don't like him at 10, but I at the end of the first round or move up a little bit, all for it. Um, oh no, not too bad though. Like I said, Moreau I think is Kaiser White's spot. The Greedy Williams is the sneaky one. You know, Gardner Johnson will kind of, and Greedy's not going to play safety, but Gardner Johnson was kind of didn't really do too much, kind of an unknown name.
Hmm.
Played on this incredible Eagles defense with this pass rush and managed to lead the league in interceptions. Greedy's got ball skills. I don't know much what he's did with Cleveland, but a guy with ball skills who's going to play in the slot mostly with this pass rush, I could definitely see Greedy Williams picking off a lot of balls, just like Gardner Johnson did.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say so Penny. and Greedy Williams were my favorites. I also was a big fan of Greedy. I wanted the Eagles to draft him when he was coming out of college at where he was from, what, LSU,
Yeah.
and I really liked him. Then he went to Cleveland, and he was hurt, and then they just really didn't use him much. I felt like. Um, so this is a good like
Cleveland's also a team. I don't care how good, how good they've been recently. That's a team I don't trust at all. Like they
they've
stink.
had talent, they just can never do
They
anything with
can't
it.
develop. Who do they develop? They don't
I
develop
mean,
talent.
Miles
They
Garrett,
got
I
some good
guess,
offensive linemen they
but
drafted, and Chubb's nice.
mhm.
Miles Garrett was like a once in a decade
Superhuman.
prospect. Yeah, I was saying anyone could have developed that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like his skill set. I remember him coming out. He wasn't much of a tackler and he wasn't super physical, and he kind of got burned sometimes, but he had good
Hmm.
ball skills. And considering you brought back Slay and Bradbury, he's not going to need to cover guys one on one. He's going to be able to, I think, man the slot and maybe jump some passing lanes. Especially with tight passing lanes when you have Slay and Bradbury out there. So I think in the spot, and I like it. You still have Maddox, I believe. So those four are like a very nice cornerback room.
Yeah, I think that's I think that quad of corners, and I still like Zach McPherson. I think he's a good corner too. So I think our cornerbacks are, I would argue, top five in the NFL. And the
Oh,
duo is,
easily.
I would put, I would probably put, say it's tough because Jalen Ramsey's had like, he's been up and down a little bit, but I would probably put Jalen Ramsey, and the
Yeah, they're my number
Dolphins
one.
number
With
one, and then
Howard,
I would,
just Xavier
yeah,
Howard's nice.
yeah, and then I would put Slay and Bradbury second. But
I agree
hey,
there.
that's to say that we have a top five second like duo at corner and a top five duo at wide receiver. How can you be upset as an Eagles fan? I mean, obviously Super
That's
Bowl,
true.
but
That's true. What's how ironically is that, like the Dolphins are probably, wide receiver. I could hear the argument. The cornerback, I think it's pretty clear that they are better, but they're probably one or two with the Eagles in both positions.
yeah, I think what's also interesting is a lot of, I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding that aren't vividly watching the Eagles because they're like, oh well, Eagles' biggest problem in the Super Bowl was their defense, and all they did the offseason was lose parts of their defense. But the thing is,
Yeah,
like,
but
you can only
very
have,
importantly, we lost Jonathan Gannon, which is a massive upgrade. That is just a massive positive that doesn't get enough attention.
yeah, I think they'll be fine. I'm still crossing my fingers for Kevin Byard. You know, maybe they trade him or Tennessee cuts him. I would buy that jersey in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah,
If
I
he
mean, you
signs with the
can
Eagles,
get
I'm
it.
buying that jersey.
I'm surprised you didn't have him on a Tennessee Titan jersey from him.
I was going to get one, and then I just kept forgetting to buy it. Now I'm gonna wait, obviously, because
Listen, I'll never rule out Howie, but that one seems a little far. But yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't
he's
know.
not
Howie pulls this stuff out of his butt all the time.
he's not making too much more than they offered CJ. Um, so it's not completely out of the realm, but yeah, I'm not. I would give it like a 25% chance at this point, but I would still love. That would be, you could put anybody next to Kevin Byard, and the secondary would be, that would be the best secondary in the league. I don't care what anyone says.
No,
Those
yeah,
two
I
corners and
agree.
Kevin Byard, come on now.
I
But
think yeah, obviously this offseason was more about not who they're adding, but who
well,
they're keeping.
it was
I think
depth.
they did a good job there. I mean, honestly, when we get to like our favorite and least favorite signings, James Bradbury, I think, is one of my favorite signings of all free agency. You brought him back on like a good contract. Like he's making like I want to say not even top 10 cornerback money. He's right around what Adoree Jackson's getting. And
Hmm.
he came off of a season where he was arguably one of the best cornerbacks last year.
He was an All Pro.
Um, yeah, I mean, like you figured he was going to bang out. He's like what 29. He definitely could have got more money out there. And I'm surprised not only did they bring him back, but they did it in a very friendly contract. You restructured or released or did whatever you want to say with Slay. We don't really even know at this point. It was like he was here, he wasn't, brought it back, and all that.
Yeah.
But with that tandem, set you up nicely. I'm glad that they brought Brett Graham. I'm really happy that you got him very cheap again, just like Bradbury. Um, I think bringing Cox is nice to have back. I don't think he's producing nearly as what he was. I thought
No.
Graham would have been would have taken a little bit more money, but not bad, mad that either of them came back. But I
I
mean, all in all, not bad.
yeah, I would give. I would give Howie a solid B. I think he did good. Um, I don't know what happened with the whole CJ Gardner Johnson debacle. That seemed like there was way more behind the scenes stuff that was going on, whether the Eagles, there was some kind of dispute on something, and then it just got really sour. And he's like, "Oh, I'll take a prove it deal in Detroit." Like, what do you mean? Why are you taking a prove it deal? Like, you already proved this is what your market is. Safeties typically don't
Yeah,
get paid crazy money unless
well,
you're like,
especially this year.
yeah. I mean, even Jesse Bates didn't get like he didn't break the bank when he signed with Atlanta. So I mean,
Uh,
I don't know
I mean, no one's getting like what was it, Jamal Adams? No one's gotten Jamal Adams money out
because look
there.
at the
You know,
production. It's not there. I mean,
I think
I
that
don't know.
was more. I kind of believe, whatever the agent and is saying happened or didn't. It does seem like, listen, Gardner Johnson was also like the last guy to sign, like out of all the free agents,
Yeah.
he was like the last guy. It does kind of seem maybe he overvalued himself and how he moved on. He was like, listen, I got other guys. I can't get lose everyone. So and I don't blame him there. Understand. Prioritize where you can.
I would say, yeah, I think the decision was to keep, they were probably saying, look, we want to keep either Bradbury or CJ. And I think the Bradbury contract just ended up being better for them.
That
And,
was a great deal.
and honestly, it's better to have an elite corner than an elite safety in this league.
Oh yeah,
Um, you can get by with like middle of the road safeties. A lot of teams do. There's a lot more really, really good. I mean, look at when we do our top tens. How hard is it to do a top
yeah,
10 corner versus top 10 safeties?
it's very
Um,
true.
so yeah, but I like the Fletcher Cox deal, honestly. I think he took 4 million less than he did last year when they brought him back on a 1 year. It was like, I think last year was like 1 year 14 mil. This year was 1 year 10 mil.
I mean, his
Um,
production has definitely fallen off a little bit,
yeah, but I
which
think you also have to
but
look
I
at
mean,
like
yeah, I
what he brings to
appreciate
the
him
team as a
taking that
leader.
reduction.
Like
Oh yeah, no, I
him and Graham need to be here for the leading perspective until they have someone who steps in, which hopefully Nakobe Dean is, but we'll see how that goes. As far as the other guys, Marcus Mariota is like weird that he finally made his way to Philadelphia because we all thought Chip was gonna take him.
oh yeah,
Um,
ugh.
thank God he didn't because Mariota turned out to be a pretty average quarterback.
Hey, he's good backup though. Nothing wrong
I
there.
mean, he fits. He's better fit than what Gardner Johnson was. He's more mobile. Um, he got benched for a rookie in Atlanta. I mean, that tells you a lot,
Yeah,
but
Ritter. I mean, he's definitely not a starter. We know that.
yeah, no.
He's not been a starter material since he's left Tennessee. I mean, he's clearly a bust. But listen, is he any different really skill wise to Gardner Minshew? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably plays more of a similar style to Hurts, so that's good. But all in all, I like it. Again, you knew nothing was gonna be sexy. The best thing I think you brought back, you hit on it. Lane, Kelsey, Cox, and Graham are all here again on one
Yep.
year deal, which is huge. Like I said, I think it's super important for that locker room. Sirianni, I like him. He's a good coach, but he is definitely a rah-rah kind of guy, and I don't think
Yeah.
his style of coaching would fit in many places.
Hmm.
He reminds me of like Ted Lasso almost. And if you were in a team where the veteran leadership isn't that strong, you probably just get, people just wouldn't want to listen to him or take him serious. So I think it helps a lot having those four in particular to help kind of, you know, keep the locker room in order for Sirianni.
Yeah, he's a player's coach. I mean, I think Pete Carroll a little bit they're kind of similar in that aspect, but um,
I mean,
yeah,
speaking of that, I mean, look at the Seahawks. They just brought Bobby Wagner. Those good years with Pete Carroll, he had guys like Bobby Wagner, you know, um, even that whole Legion of Boom, like, all those guys were leaders.
yeah.
They kind of ran the
That's
team.
how
Yeah, yeah.
it's so more important than I think a lot of people because a lot of people think, oh well, that's like a high school college thing. No, like that's huge at the pro level. You need to have that motivation, and those people to help step up and get everyone ready to go. So it's a big
Yeah, no,
factor.
see, I'm
Look at
actually a
Brian
little higher on.
Dawkins. Are you kidding?
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, I'm a little higher on Cowie's grade than I think you are. I'm more in the B plus A minus kind of range. I
mm,
think you knew he wasn't going to be making a splashy signing. You knew you were going to lose a lot of guys,
sure,
but he managed to bring back or no, I'm sorry, he managed to bring back Graham and Cox on 1 year deals. Kelsey decided to not retire, and they worked out him. You gave him the lane extension, so you locked up your four veteran core guys at least another year. You brought back Bradbury on a good contract.
Hmm.
I thought the little pickups they did, I thought were pretty good. I think obviously you knew guys like Jib and Hargrave were not coming back. Like Hargrave was probably the best player in free agency. But look at the positions that they lost guys in. Hargrave is probably going to get replaced by Jordan Davis. TJ Edwards leaving is probably going to get replaced by N'Kobe Dean. Marcus Epps leaving or Gardner Johnson leaving is probably going to replace by Reed Blankenship. Now you're in the position where these guys you drafted before, Sam Malo leaves, Jurgens is going to probably take his spot. You're in a position now where the guys you drafted recently are ready to step up in the roles you need them to, which I credit to Howie for setting that up.
Yeah.
You got to have an understanding of the future. You got to be like, all right, these guys probably are going to be here next year. Who do I have waiting in the ring? And you could look at every position we lost, and there's a guy waiting from a recent draft class that is ready to step up.
Yeah, I only give it a B because I feel like it was very much he brought back the players we needed to and then added some decent like depth pieces. Like I don't know. I'm not too high on that Tampa guy, the safety. He's just gonna be a depth piece.
Right,
Was it
he's
Justin
played him like he
Evans?
he missed 3 years of football. I can't believe this guy's still playing.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Moro's he might start. I don't know. I think that's just like he's from the Bears and our new D coordinator was once a Bears D coordinator. So that could be just
he's
a
a solid
connection
guy though.
there.
He reminds me of Kaiser White. Justin Evans on there might not even make the team. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut him.
Oh yeah, neither. I do like the Terrell Edmonds signing. He's a solid,
Yeah,
reliable
Edmonds is a good
player.
pickup.
I've heard from a lot of like Pittsburgh fans that he like definitely has gotten better in his career after being a first round pick. He's like cleaned his play up a lot, and he's like not a liability anymore. He's not going to make CJ plays, but he's going to be a reliable safety. Um,
Yeah,
so I think
if I
he'll probably
remember, he came
start.
up.
I don't want to see Blankenship starting. I don't know why Eagles fans are so high on him. It's I don't understand. But
Now, what about transferring another corner to safety? What about Maddox? I think he definitely has safety potential.
I think it depends. Like, because if you have to be super super confident that Greedy Williams will give you the same production at the slot that Maddox did, and if that's the case, then you could transfer Maddox to safety. But I'm still of the thought that we draft the safety first or second round, draft a corner first or second round, have a young guy in the waiting, maybe the third round for his corner. But yeah, I don't. This should
That was a
be
strong class for corners. I wouldn't be
this will
surprised if they go
be
corner at 10.
not to get too much into the draft because obviously we'll have our draft preview a couple weeks from now, but this will probably be another defensive heavy draft with a couple linemen drafted for depth and for hopefully replacing. And I'm sure they'll take a receiver. I'm sure they'll sign an undrafted running back. Um, but yeah, I think it's gonna be I hope it's secondary edge rusher. They could probably use an edge rusher.
Yeah, of
Like I
course. I
said,
mean,
it'll
it never
probably be
hurts to have a whole
defensive
bunch.
heavy.
I
Yeah.
mean, look at the offense. I mean, this offense you have right now, before you get into training camp and all the moves, how he's going to do anything, I think is still going to be an elite, one of the best NFL. Your
Oh
offensive line's
yeah.
set. I'm very confident in Jurgens being at least what Sayamalo was for you. Smith and Brown are here. Hurts is
Yeah.
still here. Goddard's here. I'm not worried that Sanders left. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just keep drafting the defensive pieces.
You can plug in any running back behind that line. Um, like you and I could probably run behind that line. And then as far as
Um,
the only other thing they really need is a third or fourth receiver. Because I mean, I'll give Quez another year at the third spot, but he's got to do a little bit more for me. I mean, he dropped that fucking bomb in the Super Bowl. You can't do that.
Yeah, that was a bummer. Yeah, that
Um,
was. But I mean, again, that's third wide receiver. Who would be a fourth option in this
and you can
offense?
draft
Because
a
you're
guy for
gonna
that. So
exactly. I'm not. I mean, listen, they brought in Pascal. As just like a 1 year kind of veteran, kind of special teams depth guy, and I thought he played pretty well for his role.
but yeah, like you said, super surprised by the Bradbury sign. I was very happy to see that. Um, I'm just glad we have our duo back for another year. And yeah, I feel like that pretty much wraps up the Eagles free agency signings. As far as like the rest of the league, so Lamar Jackson, still have no idea what's going on with him. I'm just gonna run through a couple. Derek Carr, obviously he signed with the Saints. Um,
What do we think about the Saints? They're such a weird team. They've been in salary cap hell for now forever. Michael Thomas apparently is going to be back. You got Camaro now. Derek Carr. I mean, I'm not really a Derek Carr guy, but there's enough
oh, don't
skill,
say.
talent. There's enough talent, and they got a pretty solid offensive line that they could make some noise. Their division's terrible. I don't know. We'll see. They're still a team I'm not getting too into yet.
Um, I mean, they lost their defense is usually consistent for them, but they did lose Marcus Davenport, which is a pretty big deal. He went to Minnesota.
Also,
Um,
Amanyada too. He's a
yeah.
nice underrated guy.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand the move for like if I'm the Raiders though, unless it's just
Oh, I
like
don't I don't understand what they're doing. I don't get it at all.
so unless it's just like a things got toxic or they just needed a fresh start with a different quarterback, that's one thing. But to go from like mediocre, I won't say mediocre, average quarterback with with a good upside to another average quarterback with good upside just doesn't make sense to me. Like I would take I would take Derek Carr over Jimmy G personally.
I probably would say, well, you throw in Jimmy G's injury history.
Yeah.
I would have expected them to have something else up their sleeve if you're going to move on from your franchise quarterback like that. Because I mean, one, it's going to piss off the fan base. Two, you just traded for his best friend
Yeah.
and signed him to a massive contract. Like I don't really understand the reasoning. Like
No.
I feel like there was a lot more negatives than there were positives from going Derek Carr to Jimmy G.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to make a big move in the draft. But listen, the Panthers already moved up and got the first overall pick. So what is the Raiders' move now? You're
Not to
looking at
mention,
the if you move up, you're looking at the third best quarterback. The Texans aren't going to trade with you. It just doesn't make any sense.
we have Derek Carr got 4 years, 150 million, and then all the way over New York, we had Danny Dimes getting 4 years, 160 million. Like that
That
was
is let's go into our worst free agent signings first because I'm going to start out with Danny Dimes. This is I'm so happy they did this because I know they're not going to be anything, but this doesn't make any sense to me. Like he was a bust his entire career, managed to win one playoff game, and now you gave him a 4 year, $160 million contract. Are you out of your mind? I would have happily franchise tagged him. I think that was the move. Work out a deal with Saquon, figure it out. Saquon's a better player, and honestly, when he's healthy, he's more important to your offense than Danny Dimes is.
yeah.
Danny Dimes is the exact reason why the franchise tag is around. It's a guy that has a one good year who's been terrible most of his career, but you're going to give him another prove it kind of option. I don't get it. The love for quarterbacks is insane. Look at Kirk Cousins. What has Kirk Cousins done? And I think Kirk Cousins is significantly better than Danny Dimes. But you're just seeing that paying middle level quarterbacks get you nowhere.
Yeah, I that's the thing. It's like I have a hard time believing like that was his market. I feel like that's overpay.
No, no, his
Like
market would have been like around. I would have given Geno Smith more money than I would have Danny Dimes.
yeah, I mean, I feel like the Seahawks overpaid for it. Like, I don't see Geno Smith like having another good year like that. I don't know.
No, but I mean, again, it's going back to the Raiders. What else are you gonna do? I don't mind them bringing back Geno. It wasn't really that much money. Like, what else are you doing if you're the Seahawks? They're not be high enough in the
It's
draft.
3 years, 75 million.
Did you see Danny Dimes get 40 million a year? 25 million for Geno is
I,
nothing considering Danny Dimes get 40.
I mean, I guess, but yeah,
Find me another starting quarterback that's making less than 25 million that isn't on a rookie deal.
yeah. Well, anyways,
I'm okay. Gino was actually one of my signees I liked. I mean, it's a 3 year. 3 years isn't really that big of a commitment. You're not bringing in another quarterback this year. I doubt it. Maybe Gino keeps doing it. Maybe he does it, and then you bring in another guy, and he's your bridge guy. The Danny Dimes one doesn't make any sense because you like he stinks. He's stunk. He's been horrible.
yeah.
Geno Smith was better than him this year, and I just don't understand. It's so insane. Danny Dimes getting this huge contract for a guy who was a bust his entire career.
Yeah, I don't really get it. But yeah. Um,
What are you gonna do?
anyways, so the big D tackles, we have Javon Hargrave, obviously left the Eagles, signed with our new rivals, the San Francisco 49ers.
That
Four
defense,
year.
man, is going to be nasty.
Oh, I can't wait till they play. 4 year, 84 million. So he got his bread. The Eagles weren't going to give him that.
No.
He had a good 3 years here. But yeah, he
Yeah,
wasn't.
he's worth the money.
Yeah,
He performed well for you. I mean, he was legit the best, like, defensive player in free agency, in my opinion.
yeah. And then you had Darren Payne, re-signed with Washington. I think they actually tagged him and then worked out a deal, 4 years, 90 million. So he got
That was
his bread.
insane. I did think that was kind of an overpay, but they're
He's only
keeping a guy, I
25.
guess.
So I mean,
Yeah, no, it's no, I don't blame him.
yeah. Orlando Brown surprisingly left Kansas City, signed with the Bengals. So 4 years,
Let's
64 mil.
let's get on this one because this is another one of my favorite and my least favorite signings. Then they kind of joined together. Love
Okay.
the Orlando Brown signing for the Bengals. One,
Right.
Joe Burrow needs more offensive line help. I know they made it a priority last year and they
Yeah, they
brought
just
in
need
a
to
lot
put a
of new
brick wall in
guys,
front of him.
but they still need more guys. Leon Collins was kind of a disappointment. Who they bring in, the Kappa from Buccaneers, but this offensive line went from horrific to I think like league average. Now Orlando Brown is a legit left tackle.
Yeah.
16 million a year, no problem with that. I don't mind that at all. That was one of my favorites. This one doesn't make any sense to me at all. Going to the other side of this, the Chiefs giving Jawan Taylor 20 million a year for a 4 year, $80 million contract is insane to me. One, you let the guy who just won you a Super Bowl leave for less
Uh,
money, and then you bring in a guy who's I think significantly worse for more money. Like I know you're going to hate to hear this, but it's very true, whether you want to agree to it or not. The Jason Hayward effect, or as I say, whenever you win a Super Bowl, you can't have a bad year. You literally just won a Super Bowl with Orlando Brown. He was your left tackle, your blindside protector on a Super Bowl winning team. Why would you let
mm,
him leave? Like I don't get that. You couldn't have worked out a deal with him before the ridiculous money you gave to Taylor.
yeah, I mean, and as you can't even make the argument that it's like an age thing because they're both like the same, like 25, 26.
I just don't get it.
So yeah,
You gave up a first round pick to get him too.
yeah, that's what I didn't understand is like why wouldn't you bring him back because of what you had to give up? But
I like unless this is like a similar Gardner Johnson kind of situation where Brown thought he was going to make a lot more money, and then you're like, oh, let me jump on it and get Jawan Taylor. But the
yeah,
Eagles, like, they moved on and got Bradbury at a discounted rate. The Chiefs went and just overpaid for the next guy. It just I don't understand. You lost your blindside protector on a Super Bowl winning team who went to your division rival or your conference rival. You're probably going to play the Bengals in the playoffs,
yeah,
and for less money. It just blows my mind. Blows my mind.
yeah. I don't quite understand it, but hey,
Yeah,
do
those
what
were
you got to
my
do.
least favorite signings, though. I got to be honest. The Taylor and the Jones just don't make sense to me.
Yeah. Elsewhere, I mean, Josh Jacobs got tagged by the Raiders.
Yeah, I saw
Uh,
that coming.
Jamel Dean re-signed with the Bucks for pretty solid 4 year, 52 million. I mean, I don't. That's what it costs for cornerbacks, I guess. But I mean,
What are the Buccaneers going? Like they're a weird team in
yeah,
limbo.
they're going down. I don't know. What did they sign? They
They got
signed
a
what's his fucking name? Um, Baker Mayfield.
yeah, that is don't know.
So
Like that this just seems like you're in a rebuild mode, I guess. But your
I mean,
team's kind of like
they have that younger
you got a
quarterback
lot
there,
of
but
other talent. But I mean, I don't know. Listen, Tom Brady retires, it changes everything. You have to be competing for Super Bowl every year. He's there. He retires. You have a Super Bowl roster, and now you have Baker Mayfield.
yeah. Well, we'll see what
So
happens
give
with
me one of
them.
who's your favorite or least favorite signing, personally?
I mean, least favorite's got to be Daniel Jones. I mean, from like a non-biased perspective, that doesn't.
I
I get
say it was
that
one of my
that's what you have
favorite
to
just as an
pay,
Eagles
but
fan.
I just don't. I don't see the point.
Is it though? Like Geno Smith was a lot cheaper. They're very similar in skill set, I think.
I feel like nothing Daniel Jones did was like wowed me though. He's just serviceable. I don't know if you give a serviceable quarterback that kind of contract.
I don't understand what like I get that they could only tag Barkley or Jones. I would have worked out the contract extension for Barkley. Like this whole year, you can't tell me Daniel Jones was the focal point of that offense. It was Barkley. He stayed healthy and their offense was very good. I would have worked that one out and tagged Jones because Jones is going to cost you more money. Why not give him one
Yeah.
more year to prove it to you?
Um, as far as best contracts, I mean, I hate to say it, but like if I'm Detroit and I got a Pro Bowl safety on a 1 year, $8 million contract to help my defense that struggled a lot last year, and they made a lot of good additions. I think
Yeah, I thought the Lions did really good.
The Lions are setting themselves up because if Aaron Rodgers eventually gets traded to whoever, seems like the Jets, because the Jets basically like built their offense, like made a big deal out of signing Alan Lazard. I'm like, I don't, he's garbage, but
Yeah, I mean, what are we gonna do?
yeah, I just
That
I
that
don't
whole
know.
Rodgers saga is just
It's weird.
only Aaron Rodgers can go on an interview and say, "Oh, I'm going to play for this team next year." Like, buddy, you haven't been traded yet. You're still with the Packers.
I'm actually pretty
Maybe
surprised
maybe shush.
with like Packer fans' reactions to it all. Like, I've talked to a couple, and they're just kind of like, "Yeah, he can go. We're tired of him." I'm like,
Oh yeah, oh my God, I would look forward to getting rid of him, to be honest.
"Yeah."
Like, I don't care about
They're
the
just
you know
he's
that
so self like he's acting like he's the whole team. Like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. I don't know what my decision. Like, are you kidding?
I got to say the best comparison, and I can't take credit for this because I heard it from Little Wayne of all people, actually.
Hmm.
Little Wayne is saying that Aaron Rodgers is now turned into Brett Favre.
I was about to say
He
that.
he
How
like you
funny that
remember like
is.
when Favre didn't want to give up. He didn't, wasn't helping Aaron Rodgers. Like, wasn't helping him at all. Wasn't really gelling with the young guys. Aaron Rodgers does not help Jordan Love at all. He
No.
trashes his rookie wide receivers. He's more interested in sitting in the dark and hosting Jeopardy than he is to do OTAs with the new rookie wide receivers. It's just, and if you're the Jets, like, this is the other thing I don't get. Like, Elijah Moore, who they just traded, was a once young, promising young rookie.
Yeah.
I You're getting rid of him because you want to bring in guys like Al Lazard and maybe Odell because you're bringing in Aaron Rodgers. Like, I
Oh
get it.
yeah.
The Jets, don't have anyone else at quarterback, and you're like, why not throw a dart at Aaron Rodgers? But, geez, him in the New York media, I'm already exhausted of, and he's not even there yet.
Um.
He's,
Yeah, but that's what I was
ugh.
getting at is that the the Lions, I think, are now the favorites to win their division. Which who would have thought we would get to that point?
I will say, I'm not. I mean, the Vikings are always good in the regular season. They won't do anything
Yeah,
after that,
but
but
the
they're
this is like the Rodgers effect because now if Jordan Love is starting, Packers aren't the favorite anymore. So we'll see. But
it's
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, the Browns got a good. They won that trade.
yeah. They
Elijah,
got
they
a
could have
guy
got.
that he was pretty nice in his rookie year, and they
Yeah,
got
I
him
don't
for
know what.
nothing just
I don't.
because the Browns are like, oh, we need to bring in Alan Lazard, Jordy Nelson, and Donald Driver and Randall Cobb. Like,
Donald Driver.
Aaron
There's
Rodgers,
been
Aaron Rodgers apparently coming to New York. His team hasn't done anything about that, but apparently he's coming.
yeah, there's been a lot of there's I feel like we've seen a lot more receivers getting traded really earlier in their careers than we used to. Like teams are just giving up on them after like a year or two or um like I'm trying to think. Like the Giants got rid of Tony, the Steelers traded away Claypool fairly like in his third year, I think. I just I don't know. But um
Yeah.
I'll ask you, where do you think you I got one player, you have to tell me where he's gonna end up. Ezekiel Elliott. Apparently, he wants to play for the Eagles, the Jets, or the Bengals. But where do you think he actually goes?
There's no way he's coming to the Eagles.
That
They
would
you
be
know they brought him. There's
DeMarco
no
Murray all
way.
over again.
Exactly, and that was a disaster. I don't see Howie making that deal. They brought in Penny. You're
Not
probably going to
for
draft a
yeah.
guy.
He'll get
There's
better money
just
elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't see the Bengals either. Mixon's your guy there.
Yeah, that also
I
didn't make
don't.
any sense to me.
Yeah, I appreciate Ezekiel Elliott wanting to go to these teams, but I just all three of those teams he listed, I just don't think won him. Who was the other? It was the Jets, I think was the other one he said.
Yeah. That
Yeah, and
but they just
again,
drafted a running back.
I was exactly. And again, going back to the Jets and their your just dismissal of rookie players. Like Michael Carter was a good rookie. Brees Hall was also a good rookie. It would kind of fit in with the Jets' philosophy, just bring in Ezekiel Elliott and throw those guys away.
Yeah. I think we had this argument not last year but the year before about linebackers. and there's a guy by the name of Devin White who I was pretty high on, but you were like super, super high on.
I mean, he
Um,
is a stud.
yeah. Well, there was a rumor that he apparently wants out of Tampa because they're kind of rebuilding. Then there was a tweet that he like commented on one of the players the Eagles just signed, and he said something like, I don't remember, let's make it happen. And so of course Eagles fans are like, oh my God, Devin White wants to play for the Eagles. Like, relax. But what do you think of the
Oh,
Devin White situation?
I'd be all for it, and I think anyone on the Tampa roster right now is worth taking a look at because, like I said, I think the Buccaneers are in a weird position where they're probably better off just blowing it all up and full rebuild.
They kind of remind
Um,
me of the Raptors of the NBA. Like they got that one piece in Kawhi, and then they like won a championship, and then like kind of like fell to mediocrity, and then like they're still kind of good, but not really. And like Tampa got Tom, and then they won a Super Bowl, and then they've kind of been mediocre since then. But
to be fair, listen, that team wasn't good with Tom Brady. They're going to be awful with Baker
oh
Mayfield.
yeah, yeah,
Why not just blow it up? I mean, you look at guys like, even their wide like Evans, Godwin. I'd be looking out there, see,
well, Godwin just got a contract, didn't he?
yeah, so he's probably not going up. But
Yeah,
Evans, Devin White, those guys, you're probably going to keep like guys like what's the Tristan Wirfs, the right tackle. Probably going to
yeah,
keep a guy like Winfield. Those young guys that are already pretty good, but they fit. In 2 years they'll still be really good when they're probably trying to compete again. So I think those guys will stay, but guys like Mike Evans, Devin White would not surprise me at all to move on. But then they do weird things. They re-sign Jamal Dean. They bring back Levante David. Like
yeah,
they give you weird vibes. Like you don't bring those two back if you're ready to blow it up. So who knows what they're doing?
yeah. Also, as we're recording this, it is 56-56 Creighton San Diego State with 6 seconds left.
Hmm. Do
But
we do we
yeah,
rotate into some March Madness?
um, yeah, we can do that. I will say one thing. I do think one candidate off of the Bucks that I could see as a midseason trade if they're garbage is Mike Evans, like going to a contender. That could definitely be a possibility.
I mean, listen, he's money. I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind him as a third wide receiver.
yeah. All right. So shifting gears, we did have obviously some March Madness going on. So Tim, obviously you don't live in the United States at the moment, so it was I was impressed that you put a bracket together. You had some moments. You did pick what was it, Princeton to beat
Princeton,
Arizona
baby.
because
I don't
you're a
care. That was my
scumbag.
championship. That was my championship right there. And it made it even better because you had Arizona and you're winning it all.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, so what happened was I have my bracket, right? So we have like about I think 13, 15 teams in our bracket challenge. My bracket was yesterday before the game started, I was ranked like 1 million like 87th. Terrible.
Not bad. Not bad.
Then after UConn made it to the final four, I moved all the way to 272nd, 272,000th. So it was a pretty good jump.
That's good. I'm in the 2 million quadrant, so yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm a long way away.
The Post-Fades Cheesesteaks bracket, which Tyrell and I when he was on the last episode, we just did our back and forth. He would pick one, I would pick one, he would pick one, I pick one. That one is currently ranked 1,187th in all of CBS.
Oh,
That's it
look at
with
that.
over how millions of over 2 million brackets in there.
There's
So
at
that's
least
pretty
2 million
cool.
because that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. We're top 1,000 almost. But yeah, so um, big yeah. This for me, this has probably been since I've like intently watched March Madness, which is probably since I don't know 10th grade, 11th grade. This is probably the one of the wildest I've ever seen. Like when the Elite Eight started, you had one team that's won a national championship, and that was UConn. The other
Yeah.
seven have never won. Like that's crazy. We had no number one seeds.
Well,
Like
yeah. I
what?
mean,
Texas, I think, is the only two seed. Like it's unprecedented. Like whoever wins this game between San Diego State and Creighton, They're a 5 and a 6. They're going to play the 9 seed FAU. So we're going to have a 5, 6, or a 9 in the NCAA championship for men's basketball.
I think more importantly, like the first round, we had a 15 and a 16 win. Like
That's
obviously,
doesn't
16's only
happen.
happened one other time. Like it's happened. This is the second time it's ever happened, and so happened to do it. Like I think it was the same day or the day after. Princeton won.
I just it's
It's
wild.
pretty. I mean, listen, this is what we love about March Madness, though. It's just, it's all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, the Princeton thing was crazy. Um I was surprised Alabama went as far as they did. Um and then Kansas looked like they were going to
I
be
mean,
good, and then they shit the bed.
yeah, well, yeah, that does happen. You got to get hot at the right time. So, who are you? Obviously, we're only halfway through the Final Four. Who do you have winning the rest of it? Ignoring your original
Redoing it.
bracket. Yeah,
Oh, it's got to be UConn at this point.
yeah, I'm on the UConn. They're giving you they do this like this is what UConn does. They come out of nowhere and they just win championship.
Yeah.
They'll lose early when they're a high seed, but when they're the lower seed and no one's expecting it, they'll come and win the title.
Yeah. I think so it'll be UConn versus either Miami or Texas. Um I think UConn can beat both those teams. And then I mean, I originally had Texas versus Arizona in my championship, so for selfish reasons, I would want to see Texas make it to the championship, but um yeah, I think UConn wins it at this point. So I guess I would say UConn over uh I don't know. Whoever I can't see FAU playing. So whoever wins this San Diego State Creighton game, I'll take them. But versus
Some
UConn.
strong analysis there. Just flipping a coin pretty much. Now, did you pick Texas originally because you just always look like a Texas fan with your orange beard,
Mm,
or did
no,
that not come across your mind?
no, I think that's a gingist.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
some people would
no,
just listen. There's probably a lot of people at those Texas games that dye their beard
no.
orange.
I just my thought process was that I mean they were 2 seed for a reason, and I thought that they had one of the hardest paths to get to the Final Four. So I thought if they made it past a couple teams, like they would be able to go run the table. So and they
Fair
kind of
enough.
have.
They're either getting bumped in the first round or they're getting on
Yeah,
such a hot streak, knocking off a couple of these games. Like I can get behind that.
I feel like that's how it works for a lot of teams. Like who would have said FAU was going to be this fucking far? But
And looking a live update here, I didn't see what exactly happened, but apparently there was a foul called with 1 second
yeah,
left, and San Diego State now drilled one free throw,
yep,
and it looks like San Diego State's moving on to the Final Four here,
yeah, they just won.
pending Creighton, nonsense.
Yeah, Creighton just threw a full court inbound, and it did not work successfully.
So we're at
Good toss
San
though.
Diego State. San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. Whoever had that in their bracket, good for you.
Somebody, somebody in the like CBS, like total, I guess total competition or whatever has FAU winning their championship. I'm like, yeah, you definitely went to school there, and you just picked them
Yeah,
because you were fanboying out or whatever. But
but it looks pretty smart now.
although I don't know what happened, now they're reviewing, seeing if the ball went out of bounds before time
To be
ended.
fair, they reviewed something with the foul too. This looks it's a lot of it. I mean, it does kind of look like it may have gone off of San Diego State, and they'll get and they should get the
It looks like
inbound right
it
underneath
looks
their
like this.
basket.
Oh, there's .2 on the clock. Damn. So I guess it's not over.
They're gonna get the ball there too.
Look at this. You're
Toss it
getting
up, see what
live commentary courtesy of Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want to get
We're
this.
always on it.
I want to get
Always
this
on it.
here.
We couldn't do this in the beginning. We wouldn't be able to multitask that well. But now
I
we're,
know.
doing episodes, watching games, commentating, hating you with your free agent signings, everything in between.
That's how we do it. A little bit of everything. Little sweet, little spice.
Yeah.
But
Little hatred for Danny Dimes. It's well deserved.
yeah. But yeah, it was a fun. I mean, I had a great time. Just go to the bar, watch the games, see all
St.
the
Patrick's Day
chaos.
weekend in March Madness.
Oh,
That's a great
it
combination.
really it's a national treasure. It really is.
It's
You can't
it's just like two
can't beat
great
it.
things mixing into one. And luckily they're both like celebrating the same location.
And the best thing is
You
like
know,
you don't have to like zone in and watch the game from start to finish. You just catch what you can, and then you're like, oh shit, 2 minutes left, and that's the thing. Like I've noticed a lot of these games, they'll be like one team will get out a little bit, like maybe a 10 point lead or a 15 point lead, but then by like 4 minutes left, the other team's closed the gap, and every game besides a couple of blowouts was pretty close.
Yeah, yeah.
Regardless of your seed or your skill level or what division you play in, it's that's the beauty of it, honestly. So,
Oh no, these when it's teams like Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, this is what we love about March Madness.
oh
And
yeah,
you're right, there's like 9 games going on at the same time, so you don't have to fully invest there and watch one. One game starts becoming a blowout, you just switch to the next one. It's beautiful. There's just
the
constant like
I
you
I
can never
will
watch a bad
say,
game.
yeah, the first 2 days are still my favorite. Like it's just so much chaos. It's just so much fun.
No, of course, of course.
These games
You
are
can't
obviously a
top
little
them.
more. You only have 2 games now on at a time, but yeah, they're still looking at. It looks like 0.2 seconds by the time the ball hits out of bounds. I just don't know who touched it.
You ever, one thing that I never really realized, Gene Snedstour, he's like college basketball ref and NFL rep.
Apparently,
How do how does he do that? Like, is he just the greatest officiating mind ever?
I mean, I feel like a lot of. I feel like refereeing is definitely way harder than like being an announcer in different sports.
No, well, obviously, but I mean, there's it's such a crossover. Like, I don't think I've ever seen any other football refs, do basketball or vice versa.
Yeah. Oh wow, they called it. I would have given them the time back. That's crazy.
You know what? Listen, they got money on the other team, so there we go. San Diego State moves on.
So I'll pick San Diego State versus UConn in the championship. Who would have fucking picked? Was that a 4 and a 5
Yeah,
seed? I think.
yeah, who knew? Well, I think we can wrap it up on that. We get a little live play-by-play commentary to end, and it's right on top. So we got Texas and Miami next. I, like you, I'm gonna do the burnt orange. Me, it's by choice. You, it's a lifestyle. So we'll see what happens from there.
Well, Miami's got orange in them too, so
Oh, you're right. This is a conflicting game for you
they're
then.
they're orange and green. So you get a little bit of the green and the Irish, and a little bit of orange. So
Because when I think of Miami, I think about Irish. But yeah, there you go.
yeah.
But hey, till next time,
All
we'll
right.
have a lot more. We'll have the Final Four, the draft right around the corner, and then we're gonna have some NBA playoffs, and see what happens from there.
All right. So then,
Till then, I'll talk to you later.
peace
Peace.
out.